This is something that's actually pretty interesting because one of the things that I'm often asked by people is, what can I do? What supplements can I take? What can I eat? What food can I take to keep me healthy, to make me healthier? So this is what we're going to talk about now. Dr. William Lee is the president and medical director of the Angiogenesis Foundation, and he'll talk about how the foods we eat affect our cells and our health. Please welcome Dr. William Lee.
Well, thank you, Max. It's a great honor to speak in this sacred hall. I'd like to also thank His Eminence Cardinal Ravazzi, Robin Smith, the Pontifical Council for Culture, the STEM for Life Foundation, and the STOQ Foundation. The truly remarkable advances that we've heard over these past 3 days all must deliver their promise, regardless of the disease we're thinking about or the scientific approach, with one imperative in mind, and that is health equity. By health equity, what I'm referring to is the reduction of human suffering for all people, everywhere, regardless of socioeconomic circumstance. Health equity is more critical than ever before for medical innovation in this point in history because of the growing income disparities, because of the expansion of the world population beyond 7.4 billion, and because the scope of non-communicable diseases that we've been hearing about, that's cancer, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, respiratory conditions, and mental illness, which we haven't spent a lot of time talking about, these are all outpacing the ability of our health systems to deliver effective solutions to all. Yet improved global health is eminently achievable because more than 80% of deaths from chronic diseases are preventable. And the science is now showing us that the specific choices that people make in their daily lives can play an instrumental role in reducing the burden of disease. I'm going to talk about a new element to the equation that we've been talking about in these past 3 days, and I'm going to propose that food is an untapped and equitable solution for health. And that's because the cellular science is revealing new dimensions about the food we eat and liquids that we drink. This still life painting by the Baroque artist Jose Ferrer, which is found in the Museo de Prado in Spain, shows the beauty of nature, depicting fresh, delicious produce that can be found on every man's table, not just kings and noblemen. Now, whether you admire art or food, the appeal of this painting is visceral and immediate. And that's one of the advantages of food as a health solution. Here's another view, evolution. During evolution, thousands of natural chemicals known as bioactives developed within the plants that produce our food. And these biochemical elements serve two functions for the plant, reproduction and defense. Some of these chemicals give color, which attracts insects that pollinate and propagate the plant. Other bioactives are natural insecticides that repel pests. But once foods or their liquids are consumed by us in our bodies, they suddenly have a new function, and that's that they interact with our cells, and they influence our physiology and our pathology. And in fact, we are now studying food as a cellular science by examining what we're eating at the molecular and cellular level, using the same modern tools that have been used for drug discovery and biopharmaceutical development. Cell culture, in vivo and in vitro models, clinical studies. We can look at cell proliferation, migration, mobilization, immunohistochemistry, and gene expression. The opportunity today is to use these bread and butter tools of the life sciences and study the impact on food, on health, disease modification, as well as disease prevention. Now let me share with you how I arrived at this new frontier. I'm an internal medicine doctor and a cell and molecular biologist, and like most doctors who do research, when I started my career 30 years ago, I dreamt about developing better treatments to conquer disease. I created a charitable organization, the Angiogenesis Foundation, that focuses on giving birth to a new class of medical treatments based on angiogenesis, the process our bodies use to grow blood vessels. Angiogenesis is a common denominator of health, as well as a common denominator of more than 70 different diseases. This is a perfect target for biopharmaceutical innovation. If we could succeed at this, I thought, an exciting new era of medicine would result. And indeed, it has. Here are 32 game-changing treatments that have resulted over the last 20 years from the Angiogenesis Foundation's work for treating cancer, for preventing vision loss, and for accelerating wound healing in conditions like diabetes and aging. Our work has touched more than 50 million lives across the world, and most medical researchers would dream of this type of success. Yet for me, it's this very success that made me realize that this approach to innovation, focused on chasing diseases with new and expensive technologies, is ultimately unsustainable. For example, and we've talked about this before, the direct cost of developing a new drug today is $1.39 billion from start to finish. And once approved, the costs to the health system and to payers is staggering. Here are the drug costs for just 3 modern treatments for cancer per person per year. Now, whether it's a national health service or a private insurance company that has to pay for these, it's clear that these modern solutions are not going to be available to everyone who needs them, regardless of how effective they are. In fact, the World Economic Forum projects that the cost to society of non-communicable diseases, including cancer, will exceed $47 trillion over the next 20 years if we don't change our path. So while medical researchers must continue to race towards disease cures, we need a new path to innovation that focuses on health and preventing disease. And these solutions must be affordable, they must be non-toxic, and they must foster health equity. I believe that path begins with food. Now, I'd like to actually show you how our work takes a cellular and systems biology approach to diet and health by looking at how food bioactives interact with 5 interrelated defense systems of the body. This is a reconceptualization of what health is. First, angiogenesis, how our bodies grow blood vessels and keep them healthy. Then our immune system, our microbiome, the healthy bacteria that lives inside and on us. The regenerative system, these are the stem cells that we've spent the last 3 days talking about. Our DNA repair system, as you've just heard about in the aging session, that slow the ravages of aging. These defense systems maintain our health and protect us against a myriad of diseases, including cancer. And in studying the impact of food on these systems, we've developed a deep pool of scientific and public health data that correlate together. Let me show you some of the highlights. First, how does food interact with the regenerative system that mobilizes progenitor stem cells that maintains, repairs, and heals us as we age? Well, we know that as we get older, our body has fewer stem cells. You've just heard about that. But not only do we have less of them, they are less active. They divide less and they move more slowly. We know our lifestyle can influence this. Regular exercise, for example, can increase the number of circulating progenitor stem cells in our bloodstream, even in people with diabetes and cardiovascular disease. In fact, 6 months of regular exercise can elevate stem cells in our bloodstream for up to a year. We also know that diseases like diabetes, both type 1 and type 2, can compromise our stem cell function. And since lifestyle plays a major role in managing diabetes, the question is, can food and the bioactives within food boost our stem cell function? The answer is actually yes. Omega-3 fatty acids, which are found in seafoods like salmon, mackerel, anchovies, and shellfish, can stimulate and restore stem cell defects in both animals and in humans. And in animals, it actually increases their health span. Red wine can also increase stem cells by almost 2-fold. This is the effect in healthy people drinking just 2/3 of a glass of red wine, in this case Cabernet Sauvignon, each day for 3 weeks. This is actually doing a study measuring how many stem cells are in the circulation. And you can see by comparison, drinking water, shown on the left, has no effect on stem cells. Eating the Mediterranean diet, which we know is healthy for many different reasons, including extra virgin olive oil, whole grains, salad greens, fruits, and nuts, over a period of 3 months can double the number of stem cells in the bloodstream. And this is something that the skinny pasta folks that have been donating the pasta for our lunches are trying to do as well. But here's what's interesting. When you combine the Mediterranean diet with moderate exercise, there is an amplifying effect that raises the stem cells by 8-fold. This is in people. Another finding that's going to make you happy is cacao, the main ingredient of chocolate, because the chocolate has bioactive polyphenols that influence progenitor cells. And a clinical study of people in their mid-60s who were given hot chocolate to drink showed that those who drank high flavanol chocolate, that's dark chocolate, for 30 days every night, had increased circulating stem cells, as seen on the right, which also increased their blood flow. So the question is, what happens on a larger population scale? This is what we're doing. Molecular biology, cell biology, careful research in isolated systems, and then asking the question, what happens in the community? Well, this is a population study of 20,000 people in Germany that observed that those who ate 7.5 grams of chocolate per day had a 39% decreased risk of heart attack or stroke. Another defense system influenced by diet is angiogenesis. And this picture just shows you that tumors can grow from microscopic cells by hijacking blood vessels that bring them oxygen and nutrients and allow them to explode. So we've been studying how foods, as well as medicines, can starve cancer by cutting off the blood supply. The spice oregano is common in Mediterranean cooking, and we know that it actually suppresses the growth of breast cancer. And laboratory mice fed a diet containing 0.3% oregano. That's equivalent to 2 teaspoons of oregano a day, easily achievable in the human diet, had a 40% reduction in breast cancer growth. So, what's the mechanism of action? Well, if you look at the tumors under the microscope, the tumors in animals who were fed oregano had a reduced production of an angiogenesis protein called VEGF, vascular endothelial growth factor receptor 2. That's the brown staining protein you can see on the left. That's almost absent on the right. Less angiogenesis, fewer vessels feeding cancer cells, smaller cancers. And the bioactives in oregano all have known angiogenesis inhibitory properties. Broccoli is another food with cancer-starving antiangiogenic activity, and the bioactives in broccoli are called sulforaphanes. What part of the broccoli should we eat? In America, the people tend to eat the tops or the florets of broccoli, but broccoli from the farm has a long stem that many people cut and throw away. So we asked, does the anatomy of the food matter? Are there differences in cancer-fighting activity between the tops versus the bottoms? So we did a comparative effectiveness study to answer this question, and for comparison, we looked at a cancer drug called Sutent, or sunitinib. And this is where we are in this era. We can pick molecularly targeted therapies, use these very sophisticated studies, and then extract from Mother Nature food and ask what's actually happening here. And here are the results. You can see that the broccoli florets, the tops, had 20% of activity compared to Sutent in this particular assay. But the surprise is that the stem had twice the activity for tumor starvation as the florets. And this is the part that food companies throw away. So now we're asking, is there a more sustainable way to grow and harvest broccoli that we can actually have from a health perspective by using the stalks? One can't speak of Italian cuisine without mentioning tomatoes, which have been shown to reduce the risk of prostate cancer and breast cancer in large population studies. Now, tomatoes contain bioactives like lycopene, lutein, and beta-cryptoxanthin, all which are anti-angiogenic. But not all tomatoes are created equal. The San Marzano tomato, originating near Naples, have the highest levels of cancer-fighting lycopene. But even in San Marzano, the varieties of tomatoes growing there have differing levels of potency. So the biodiversity of food is an incredible opportunity that we can mine to leverage for health. And when we think about preserving our soil, our water, and our planet, we need to also protect biodiversity so we don't lose the benefit of what is available to us. Now, foods can also influence our genes, and this is some of the latest findings that we've had, very startling to me as a hard-boiled molecular biologist, and that's that some food bioactives can turn off oncogenes while others can turn on protective tumor suppressor genes. Here's a partial list of bioactives that we found. I'm summarizing this for you. There's a lot of work underlying this. But examples of food that are, the bioactives, examples of foods in which they're present, and how they influence cancer-related genes by either upregulating the protective tumor suppressors or by downregulating the oncogenes. Now think about this on the left-hand side. The beneficial concept of amplifying a tumor suppressor gene is really daring to imagine if we could do this using food. I mean, what if one day we could design a personalized precision diet that turns on protective tumor suppressor genes like wild-type BRCA or wild-type P53 to defend us against breast cancer, brain cancer, lung cancer, or colon cancer? Well, one way we can do this is by looking at the possibility of epigenetics. This is how an exposure can change our gene expression. Some harmful exposures in life can block tumor suppressor genes, and one of these blockers is called HDAC. This is a histone deacetylase, which lowers our defense. And some foods can remove the HDAC blocks. You can knock down HDAC to unleash our protection, and therefore boost cancer protection. And this study showed that people who ate half a cup of broccoli sprouts, another part of the broccoli that isn't often eaten, but it's loaded with the bioactive sulforaphane, can lower the blocker HDAC as quickly as 3 hours after a meal, and the effect can last as long as 24 hours. And finally, we're examining the role of gut bacteria, which is part of the 100 trillion organisms of the microbiome with which we share our bodies. The microbiomes have been mentioned a few times. I'm going to show you just a snippet of data because we're finding that these bacteria influence our immune system and angiogenesis system and may play a role in modifying chronic diseases, including cancer. One bacteria called Lactobacillus reuteri is a healthy bacteria that's normally passed from mother to child through natural breastfeeding. And in the laboratory, reuteri inhibits the development of colon tumors and breast cancer. But what's even more stunning is that when experimental mice growing breast cancers are fed a junk food diet made with potato chips, they have an increased rate of breast cancer growth. But adding reuteri in the drinking water at probiotic levels can decrease the aggressiveness of the cancer even if the animals keep on eating the junk food. There's a lot more data which I don't have time to show you, but I do want to actually end by telling you what's next for our effort. First, we're establishing a new multidisciplinary collaborative field of research that marries life sciences, including genomics, with food sciences and with public health. We're organizing a global consortium to tackle this effect because no one person can do this alone. We need collaborators and advisors, which we've recruited from Europe, Asia, North America, and Latin America. That includes top leaders, as well as an important group that we think is that we need to actually nurture. And these are the rising stars from academia, from life and food sciences, from technology, from public health, and also in the culinary world, those people that make it possible for us to enjoy what we eat. Our goal is to generate the credible scientific data and evidence that's needed to overcome that background noise that we all encounter when we go on the internet or listen to television, because there's a lot of noise from today's populist food movements that are not scientific in nature. And this is going to require that we conduct rigorous laboratory science and extraordinary public health research, and we're going to need all of your help in this room. We are examining food bioactives in whole foods and foods prepared in meals, not supplements. And we're gathering public health information and outcomes data, not testimonials. We've already used social media through a campaign called Eat to Beat to recruit more than 43,000 individuals from 183 countries who want to participate with us as citizen scientists to give us their data about the food they eat, their biomarkers, and their individual health outcomes. And now, here's the most ambitious part of our plan. We are creating what we're calling the world's greatest human experiment, using social media and digital technology to recruit and connect 500,000 people from across the planet to help us study food and health. We're going to use this system to assess baseline dietary habits and health risks, and then we're going to provide evidence-based guidance from a cloud of scientific information about food that includes public health data, foods and beverages. We're also going to provide what doses we need It's not just good to know that you need to eat blueberries. How many do you need to eat? That's what the evidence that we're going to provide. We're also going to provide recipes, and we're going to geomap the appropriate restaurants, food providers, markets you can find these foods by developing partnerships at the community level. We're going to assess baseline genomics and then look for gene expression and epigenetic changes over time associated with food patterns. And we're going to assess health outcomes and seek biomarkers for health and disease. This is an undiscovered frontier that technology, science, and collaboration with the community and with culture will allow us to do across the world. This study has the potential to transform the relationship that people have with food and allow us to generate the culturally specific knowledge on how the nature of food interacts with our bodies. Imagine a world in which we turn things upside down and cancer becomes a rare disease because people are selecting and eating foods from childhood through healthy aging that boost their health defense systems. This isn't the only answer, but it is an important answer to add to the equation to the remarkable things we talked about this last 3 days. Children, families, and communities alike would be healthier. Money would be saved from treatments that are not needed, leaving more resources in a pot for those who couldn't avoid disease and who need treatment. And according to the Union for the International Cancer Control, cancer prevention alone could save up to $100 billion by avoiding future treatment costs. Can you imagine if we could come together and create a $100 billion health venture fund designed to invest in food innovation that would connect our individual cellular health with the health of our communities and ultimately the health of our planets? This virtuous cycle is central to our vision. But we're standing at a precipice today. Given the economic, social, and public health challenges, we're in a race against time to reduce human suffering. I am proposing that we all work together to empower individuals and community, as well as our health systems, to make better decisions for health. And so I have 3 calls to action. First, we need to pool our resources, intellectual and financial, so we can better understand how to protect and maintain our health with the same degree of commitment that we have to curing disease. Second, we must mobilize our communities to start using that scientific information we already have about food, because this has immediacy, and food is so tied to our cultural values. And third, we need to exert our influence to shape public policy, because we want to broaden the concepts of health to extend from pharma to farm. In this way, our food can also become our medicine. And if we as leaders can rise to meet these challenges, then we will make progress in achieving the health equity for all people worldwide. So in closing, I'd like to quote the cultural anthropologist Margaret Mead, who once said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." All of us here in this room are change agents for health, and I hope to have your blessing and your support to accelerate the work that embraces the natural virtues of food with the promise of bringing about, along with the many technologies we've talked about, a new scientific renaissance for global health. Thank you.